you?
Doing well. How are you?
Pretty good.
Nice.
So, tonight is a special night
Hmm.
because we have Kenneth Drake, who has written two books and is a well known medium and helps people within the paranormal field um, as much as helping people with it across the world with different things metaphysically.
Hmm.
Let's go ahead and bring him on up.
Sounds good.
Good evening. Good
Good
evening,
evening.
gorgeous people. Thank you so
Hi.
much. Thank you so much for letting me be here with you. Thank you so much. It's such an honor. Can you? Sorry, I'm in a little bit of a makeshift studio in my downtown office tonight. Can you see me all right?
We can,
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here with you. Thank you so much for having me. I love you
Oh, you're
both.
very welcome, man.
I was just telling, just before this came on, I was saying to Christopher, I haven't had the honor of meeting him yet, but I'm such a fan of both of you and it's with what you do. And I'm so honored to be a part of this with you. I love you both so much already. Thank you for this.
Right back at you, man.
We're so happy to have you here. So let's start out by talking about your books. What inspired you to start writing your books?
Mm.
Well, it was my fourth midlife crisis. And no, I sometimes say that jokingly to people that, when you're a part of this, see so many beautiful people coming on tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Absolutely.
much. Um, when you're doing something that you're passionate about for so long, you blink and the next thing you know, almost 30 years have passed.
Oh, I
And
know it.
it goes by so quickly. And I sometimes wonder where does the time even go? And I thought after enough time had passed, I thought it was time to really start sharing some of the stories behind the messages as a way to hopefully in some way make the connection to the spirit world a little more relatable to people in some
Nice.
way. When we think of, or I speak only for myself, sometimes when we think of mediumship, psychic mediumship, it has this otherworldly connotation to it, and it is, of course, so powerful. But I think that sometimes we, myself included, can forget to make that relatable to people. What I'm
Hmm.
seeing and what I've seen all these years is that there are people all over the world, regardless of their beliefs, regardless of their backgrounds, who are having these encounters with the spirit world. And I hoped that maybe my journey, this nobody kid from a nowhere town all those years ago, and that's after all these years, that's still who I am. I feel maybe my story is a little relatable to people. I hope that it is.
That's awesome, man. I just have to say, from seeing you on camera and meeting you this way, you have a great energy, dude. Like I can feel it through the camera.
Oh, man, I feel the same way about you, man. I feel the same way about you. Got to see some pictures of you working your magic on stage in Salem, and I can't believe I
Oh, thank you.
had to miss that party. For those that are just now tuning on, I so would have loved to have been there in Salem with you, and it just wasn't in the cards for me to make that trip. A few things came up, but I'm
No
such a
worries.
fan of both of you guys, and
We will meet in person. It will be a thing.
we will. It'll be fun.
I
the
got a question for you about your mediumship journey. Kind of, is it something that like you've always known? Like, have you always been connected, or like was this something that was kind of later on in life that kind of clicked for you? You know what I mean?
Great question. I think for myself, it was something that I had always been aware of, but
Okay.
I didn't really surrender to it
Yeah.
until later in my life. And
Yep.
I always sometimes share with people that for me, there's that saying that spirits speak to us in that still small voice at first, and if you don't listen, it gets a little louder, then a
Oh
little
yeah.
louder, and a little louder. Well, for me, I made so much of a mess in my younger years, growing up in my early 20s. And what I've realized is that if it's your calling, it's going to keep on calling. And so
For
I
sure.
started to realize that with all of these experiences, that the experiences serve a purpose. So it was later, a little later in life, I was just going through, I'd say just outside of high school, really. I was
Okay.
in the process of going into seminary. come from a very religious background in the South, and that was going to be it for me. And just started to realize that there's a little bit more than that. And so really got heavily involved in spiritualism and
Very
started
cool.
to see that there's a philosophy behind the messages, and that the messages serve a purpose. So I always share with people, I'm even after all these years, I'm still learning, and I've learned so much from both of you, honestly, over this everything that you do. So
That's a great answer. That's awesome.
so many great people. Thank you so much. A lot of beautiful people I see tuning in. I love you. Thank you
That's
so
right.
much.
Hey, welcome.
Thank
Everybody's
you.
popping in on the chat.
Thank you so much.
Hi,
Love you. Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you for letting me crash the party.
Anytime.
So, what brought you from being a medium? Like, what introduced you over to the paranormal side of things? And also, what are your viewpoints? Like, what are your thoughts on different people's perspectives of what paranormal actually is?
Such a great question. That's one thing that I've always loved about both of you is the way your minds work. You bring up these great questions that, I don't get to do this very often. And so to even have those questions, these are, I think, amazing questions. For myself, I have to be honest. I've always been a fan of horror. No one loves horror films more than me. But so growing up, there's always this pull toward something else. And just really immersed myself into that. I've always just been a huge fan of that. But coming into mediumship, one thing that I sometimes feel is that I'm a little bit of the odd man out at times when it comes to the paranormal. And that's not because I'm not a fan of all of it. I'm a fan of all of my ghost hunter friends. I love all of them, and I support all of my friends in the paranormal. I think for myself, I think there are times when I think the term paranormal can be a little bit of a misnomer, because I hope to share with people, just in my own way, is that these experiences are normal. It's normal to have a connection to the spirit world, or it should be. It's normal to feel the power of the spirit. It's normal to go through life knowing that there's someone guiding you. That's normal. And I think sometimes there's this, maybe a philosophical element. Not that I have it all figured out, not that I'm not still learning myself, of course, but I think sometimes there are these teachings that say, you can't go too far. Don't go too far. Pull back. And there's this fear-based, I think, mindset to where at times we blend the horror, the entertainment of the paranormal, to the point where we create this theology of it. And I think that many times that limits us from fully experiencing the genuine power of the spirit world. So I'm such a fan of all of the paranormal, really all of my friends in the paranormal. If I ever seem like I'm an odd man out, it's not that I'm not a fan. It's just I think I'm starting to see that there's a meaning behind the message. There are meanings behind the messages. And as much as I love the good horror side of things, I think the older I get, I just want a little bit more substance, if that makes sense.
Totally. So on the same lines of horror, if we're talking about that, you said you were a big fan of horror movies throughout the years, right? What would be your favorite kind of horror genre? And then within that genre, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, that's great. I knew I loved you both. If I may go back to just part of that last question is, what I'm seeing too, as far as following up on the paranormal question, is that when I started getting calls from people years ago that I could really relate to, sharing horrifying encounters with me and things they were going through. And when you're going through these things, you can feel so alone in the world, like you're the only one in the world going through these things. And so that's part of why I wanted to in some way present mediumship in maybe a little bit more of a relatable way with my book and with what I do. But playing on horror, in fact, I've got something coming up in the new year. I'm going to be at a few horror conventions. I've got this presentation that I'm going to be doing about witchcraft horror in the 80s. I love a good 80s horror film on VHS.
Hell yeah.
And something about themes of demonic possession. And of course, The Exorcist changed all of that for me. Growing up and being a young kid, having these weird experiences. Got to, in fact, one thing that was really a highlight of the past 2 years, got to interview, spend some time with Eileen Dietz, who was the face of the demon Pazuzu for the 50th anniversary of The Exorcist. And I love that element of things. What about you guys? What are some things that you love?
As far as horror movies?
Mm.
I have to say recently I've been really drawn to the Terrifier series.
Oh, that's great. Oh, you can't beat that. That's great.
No,
Yeah.
it's a little extreme, but and I love the classics too, like Alien. Me and my daughter watched those movies and she loved them. So I have to say some of the older Alien movies, things like that. But I also love Poltergeist. Those movies are great.
Classic.
What about you, Raven?
I really like Pet Cemetery.
Yeah.
I liked It. I like
classics.
Yeah.
Our friend, some of our mutual friends, Mr. Adam Began of Historically Haunted, that he's got some great Stephen King tourist sites there that he takes people
sure does.
to. Yeah. So, yeah, I knew I loved you guys.
So what would you say are some of your very first eye-opening experiences that you were seeing the dead at the time? The dead.
Great question. I love the way you word things. great question. I don't remember this very vividly. I have to be very honest about this, but I've always heard this story of growing up. My mother she recounts this story now, that even at a very early age, I would always ask, who is this man with the scar on his face? We grew up in a very rural town. When I say rural, I mean coal mines, used car lots, churches. That was it. In the middle of the rural South. And so we grew up in this old mining community, really, where coal mining was really the main industry there. And so I always saw this man in our home with a scar on his face. That's the only way that I knew to describe it. In fact, I share part of that briefly in my book. There's this man with the scar on his face. And, when you're going through these experiences, it just seemed normal to me. I didn't know that, I didn't know there was a supernatural or paranormal element to it. I think those were some of the first experiences. And as I began to surrender, though, to mediumship a little bit later on, 15, 16, 17, really began to have experiences that were on a completely different level because I was actively seeking it. And one thing that I sometimes like to share with people, especially those coming into maybe psychic development, mediumship development, is you're going to get what you're looking for. If you're looking for these things, you're going to find these things. And for myself, I was actively looking for these things. And little did I know that you can only surrender to the spirit world and make these promises to the spirit world. Use me, show me. You can only say that for so long before they start to take you up on that. So when I was 15, 16, 17, started to have these really, really strange experiences, seeing actual images, physical images of Baphomet walking in my bedroom on the sides of the road, things like that, otherworldly things. Of course, I thought that I was losing my mind. Of course, according to my family, maybe they should have put me in a padded cell all those years ago with some of the things that I put them through. But when I really began to surrender to this, that's when it really began to go to a completely different level, and really fought it for a long time. For most of my early 20s, for a long time, I fought it. But I think it all started looking back in that small little mining community in the rural South, some guy with a scar on his face, or so I hear.
Interesting. So I got to ask too about the mediumship and some of the mechanics that you use. How would you describe for people that maybe don't know anything about mediumship, like how you do it on a let me try to see if I can phrase this right. Like what are some of the mechanics that you use, and how does it come to you when you're doing it? Does that make sense?
Great question. Great question. And that's, if I may say, I'd love to learn from both of you too. That's something I'm so passionate about, is in my own life and even through some of my writing, is to see how other mediums connect. And I know that you two are two of the finest in the world. I know that. And I just love hearing those stories of how people get the information. And something about, well, the way that I personally like to describe it for myself. A lot of beautiful people. Hi, guys. Thank you for joining us tonight. The way that I like to describe this for myself is I think of it as a partnership.
Mm-hmm.
And beneath all of the messages, beneath all of the, and that really may not go into the mechanics of it, but the reason I share that first is I think for myself, the more that I can focus on this being a partnership
Mm-hmm.
with spirits, a partnership with the spirit world, I think the stronger that power becomes. There's that philosophy of sitting in the power, or what some
Yes.
spiritualist churches call, or not only churches, but in the paranormal world, sitting in the power, that meditation of
Yep.
making that a part of your daily practice. Something that I share with a few of my own students, or have shared over the years, is that when you have that connection outside of an event, say outside of a stage, off of a stage, when you make that a daily practice in your own personal life, that power is going to automatically be there every single time you need it, in every reading. Every time I feel that right now. Every time you step onto a stage, that power is going to be there. Every time you need to share healing with someone, that power is going to be there. If you make it a practice in your own daily life, and that's something I haven't always been the best at, quite honestly. And I'm still not someone who's fully arrived. I'm still learning myself. But one thing that I try to make it a practice of is to incorporate that into my daily life. It sounds so strange, but even instead of driving somewhere, taking a bus instead, just for the fun of it, just for the scenery change, just to come in contact with someone who may need a message, or going for a walk, going to the coffee shop, and saying, just in my mind, telepathically, who can we meet? Who can we not me? Who can we as the spirits? Who can we meet today? And those little things like that, as simple as that sounds, I find for myself, that goes a long, long way. It goes a long, long way, I think, in building that power for mediumship.
That's awesome. Very cool.
Most definitely. I think that it's important to um, integrate that within an everyday situation personally,
Mm-hmm.
just because you never know who the spirits are going to want to help that day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely so. And I was thinking about really the first question that you both asked me, talking about just about the paranormal world. And I think part of why I can sometimes seem, or a lot of people probably think, that I may be sort of the outsider when it comes to the paranormal is I think it's important to make this relatable, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I'm not always the best at that myself. I'm still learning, of course, but I think it's important to share that this is normal. This is normal.
Yes.
Your connection to what some call heaven, your connection to the power of the spirit, your connection to the afterlife, that's not abnormal. It's not paranormal. This is normal.
Yes.
And I think the more that you begin to relate to that in a daily way, to say that I wake up, and I like to share this with people, sometimes even if I'm lecturing or teaching, I like to wake up and say, I'm not going to settle for anything less than the supernatural today. I'm refusing. There's too much. I believe that's a message for someone watching right now. I'm not going to settle for anything less than the full power of the spirit world. if that's judged, if people say it's too dark, you shouldn't go too far, you've gone too far. I don't think you can go too far, quite honestly. I think we were made for spirit contact. I believe we were made for spirit communication. And I think that, the more that we can, and I'm saying this to myself, quite frankly, the more we can make this part of our natural, normal lives, there is no limit to what we can see. I'm talking about, and I've seen things, honestly, in my life, things even now that I see, and I can't even believe that I'm looking at it. I can't even believe I'm seeing it. Is this things that 20 years ago would have never even crossed my mind? That's not a full materialization seance where there's a physical being you can physically touch. That's not real. 25, 30 years ago, that would have never even crossed my mind. One thing that I try to inspire people, or at least encourage people to start to think about, is how far can you go? How far can you go with your practice, with your mediumship, with this connection to the spirit world?
Right.
How far can you go? And I want to push that, even if no one ever reads the book, even if no one ever comes to a show, I want to push that for myself in my own. Whether it's just me locking myself into a bedroom somewhere and not coming out for a few days, I want to know. I want to know. I want to experience it because I know it's real. And I think the more we push ourselves to be open to that, I think the spirit world, my God, they love that. I think they're drawn to that desire like a moth to the flame.
I would agree
I can't
with
agree
that.
more. Yeah.
We're going to have some fun. I can tell the three of us are going to have some fun together when we finally.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
so.
Now, Gwen had a question. She had said, this is a question for all three of you. When you do have a message for somebody in public, a spirit comes to you insisting, how do you handle that person with the spirit?
That's a good one. Who wants to tackle that one
That's
first?
great.
I should say.
I want you guys to go first. I'm going to learn from you. I want you to go
I,
first.
Raven, do you want to say, or would you want me to go? Like, totally up to you.
You can go first and then I'll go.
All right. So the way I handle that, if I'm out in public, like I'm not gonna, I have like this thing where I don't go up to people and just go like, oh my God, I got your grandmother here, and she says, don't buy the chocolate chip cookies because of X, Y, and Z. I don't feel like ethically that's right, in my personal opinion, right? So what I do is I tell the person in spirit, and this helps me validate the spirit world as well. But I'll say to the person in spirit, I'll say, look, you go over, you tell your loved one to come talk to me. And if they come over here and they just, even if they're like, oh, hey, what do you think of this? Or, even if it's not related to somebody in spirit, if they come up to me randomly for whatever reason, because their intuition led them to that, then I'll know that was spirit getting them to come over here. And then I will engage and deliver the message. Otherwise, ethically, I don't generally go up to people and just say, hey, look, I got someone here. This is what they're all about. This is what they say and do. I have done it in the past a couple of times. Like a friend of mine's dad passed away, extremely persistent man. And I was like, look, dude, I'm so sorry, but I have to do this to you right now. And he accepted it very warmly, and it was a great thing. But that's how I tackle it.
I love that. And one thing I love about that, if I may say, Christopher, I love the fact that in the process of that, I love hearing these stories because I'm so inspired by seeing other mediums, honestly. But your interaction with your contact as that's happening, I love that. I love that. I think a lot of people, myself included, there have been so many times where I would have just many times in the past, I would have just dismissed it altogether to say, well, I don't want to make a mess. That's we'll talk later. We'll talk. Come back a little bit later. We'll figure this out later. But I love the fact that you're working with even the contact in spirit to arrange that to come across in a better way. And I think for myself too, I as these moments of contact are happening, I think it's important to be flexible in how the spirit wants to connect, because I think in some, speaking from my own experience, there have been times when I've been so rigid in saying, oh, it has to be this way. You have to give me this sign. It has to look like this in order for me to believe that I need to do that. And many times in that internal dialogue, I've disconnected myself from the message by overthinking it, or by saying it has to look a certain way. And there are times too, even now, where even walking into a store, or uh, having someone come up to me for a message, if someone's here sees me out in public, where as it's happening, I'm wanting to make this mental connection in my mind to say, is this is this even in this moment for a greater good, or is this going to lead to some more confusion? And so I so get with what you're saying. I love the way that you work through that's helping me even now. What about
That's
you?
cool. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, for me, it's interesting because I'm not the type of person either to go up to an individual and be like, hey, your family member so and so wants to give you this message, unless I'm approached. However, there have been two specific situations where the family member that had crossed over was worried about the person that I was speaking to because they were planning on no longer being on this side. And so, in those two instances, I did speak up to the two people. I went up to them and I asked, well, with one of them, I asked if she would like to have coffee with me because she looked like she needed somebody to talk to. And
Mhm.
we started talking, and then I opened up about my mediumship, and then I opened up about the message that was being given for her. This young lady had a daughter, and she had just really been, and she's allowed me to share this story. Um, but she was really, really going through it, and she was just ready to end it all. And her aunt had come through and yelled at me, please, please, please go talk to my daughter,
Mhm.
or my niece, I'm sorry. And so I went and talked to her, and she ended up getting the help that she needed. And now she and her daughter are doing really well, and they're happy. And I hear from them every now and then. And then the other person was really going through deep depression at the time. And their father came through. This person's father came through.
Mhm.
And it was an instance where I happened to be at a grocery store, and the father told me to notate the bag that he was carrying because the bag was his. So I made a
Mm.
compliment, a generalized compliment. I said, I love your bag. Your bag is really nice. And he said, oh yeah, it was my father's.
Mm.
And I said, "Oh," I said, that's interesting." And I was like, um, "You must have been really close with your father." And he said, "Yes." And he said, "But it's been really hard not having him around." And I said, "I can only imagine." As his dad standing right there talking to me at the same time. And so I just told him, "Eh, you know, do you want to talk?" And he's like, "Actually, yeah." Like, it was just one of those, like, situations where he was open enough to where I could sit down and talk with him, and then I opened up about his dad, and at first he was a little nervous, but then I gave certain aspects that were able to help him process through it, and I don't know if he got the help he needed, but I sure as heck tried, before, the situation was over, and he seemed to be okay by the time I left. Um But those are the only two instances. For the most part, unless there's an emergency situation where a spirit or a god or goddess or, somebody connected to that individual is saying, hey, I need you to get their attention,
Mhm.
then I will wait till I'm approached.
Mm.
Yep.
Mm. I love
I
that.
really like that.
I love that. I love that. Something else that I'm just picking up on too. That and something I shared with one of my students in development just 2 weeks ago, and I never heard it put this way until you shared that the way you did. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for inspiring me with that. I think there's so much power in praise, as simple as that sounds. When
Mhm.
someone's going through something, going through these difficult moments where it's so dark, or even paranormal encounters where there's nothing but horror, nothing but fear, nothing but terror, and there's no light at the end of the tunnel. someone going through major depression clinically, so, or someone fighting to even hold on just to another day. You mentioning something like your bag, something as simple as that, something about the power of praise that opens up this doorway. It's like spirits are drawn to that, like moths to
Mhm.
the flame, I think. Or talking to someone going through battling the most overwhelming intense emotion where they think they can't make it to another day. And all of a sudden you say, I love how deeply you feel things. I love the fact that you feel things so deeply. Love that about you. Do you really? Yeah, let's talk about that.
Mhm.
The thing you know, they're on cloud nine and they feel this power in them. Like, my God, I can run, I can conquer anything right now. Something about, I think, the power of praising people, where in those moments, not only is it a connection to the spirit world, but it's a connection to the power within themselves to say, I've seen readings, or I've been a part of so many readings that, quite frankly, didn't start very well, and I didn't do very well. Quite honestly, where it started, and it was a mess. And I thought, or being on a stage somewhere when I was doing tours a long time ago, I don't do that as much now, but have a group of people, 50, 60 people in a room, and it's not going very well. The next thing you know, when you say, I love the fact that you're as powerful as you are, I can feel the spirit around you. Can you really? My God, it's like it changes the entire dynamic of the room, where all of a
Mhm.
sudden you start seeing that they become more open to this power. You, as the medium, become more open to this power. Then there's a synchronicity in that moment that develops. And my God, it's like all of a sudden the room fills up with spirits, and you can't. There's so many messages you can't even give them all. All because you just take a moment to praise someone. You know, when you said I like your bag, that's the part that stood out to me. I love that.
Absolutely.
I try to find entryways when I need to so that I can help the person.
I love it. I love it.
And it was such a beautiful way to go about it. Literally, like the dad's telling you that that was his bag,
Mhm.
so you make a compliment about it, and that opens up the dialogue. Like what a genius way to go about it.
Genius, genius. I love it. I love it. I'm
Fun.
over here. I'm
Yeah.
taking
Love
notes
it.
over here. I'm taking notes.
Yeah,
How can I be a better medium? I need to learn from both of you.
I think we can all learn from each other for sure. Um,
forever a student, always.
Me as
yeah.
well. Me as well.
So speaking of like doing the tours and stuff, what was it like in the beginning, like when you did your very first like group seance? Like I know how it was for me, but I always like to hear other people's stories.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for asking about that. This is actually something that I did not share in the book, so it's interesting that you would even bring that up. Thank you for even thinking about that. For myself, one thing that I always go back to, and it's in some way, maybe it's a way to make this relatable to other people, but for myself personally, in those beginning days, especially in the very rural South, we didn't call it mediumship. We didn't even call it psychic. I didn't even use that word because, where I was from, that was the devil's work. That's the devil's work.
Yep.
We don't do that. And so had this had this, if I could just call it a desire, and it was an otherworldly, overwhelming desire to focus on healing. And where I was from, in the very rural South, in Pentecostal circles of Christianity, that was something you could explore that, and that wasn't considered too crazy. You could talk about angels, you could talk about dreams, visions, prophecy. But when you start talking about spirit guides healing people, well, it's that's a little much. Or when you start saying I've got a message from your dead grandma, well, it's, oh my God, get the hell out of this church. So I like to say that my public mediumship began with public excommunication, quite quite
Yeah.
honestly. But I mean that literally. Maybe that may be another book for another day in the future. But was at this event, and I heard it as clearly. I was 21 years old, and I heard it as clearly as I'm hearing your voices right now. I want you to rent out this auditorium in this small downtown area for 3 days. and I want you to focus on healing. Now, I was bagging groceries at a grocery store part-time, trying to put myself through college. So the idea of renting out an auditorium, I couldn't even afford gas for my car. Didn't really matter though, because the damn thing wouldn't start half the time anyway. So made just enough gas to get to work, and that was it.
Mhm.
Long story short though, somehow through spiritual connections, through the spirits leading people that I didn't even know, people that I didn't even had never even met before, saying, we just feel drawn to you. We want to help you with this. This is supposed to happen. Next thing I know, I don't even have to pay a dime and the whole thing's paid for. Well, I'm standing on stage, walk out onto a stage. It's this full auditorium. I don't even know what I'm going to say. I haven't even really connected with my spirit guides at that point to the degree that I now do. All I knew was that I was hearing this voice telling me, you need to focus on healing. You step out onto this stage, we'll do the rest. That's literally what I heard. You step out onto this stage, we'll do the rest. Now, at this point, the local newspaper in the small town, which wasn't a big deal because it was a very small town, but it seemed like a big deal, when you're in that moment, and especially when you're so young. Step out. Don't even really know what I'm going to talk about, but the local newspapers have already covered it, so it's a packed house for this auditorium. Step out onto the stage, and I just take a moment and I pause. And I just start saying what I'm hearing in my mind. Simple as that sounds. Now keep in mind, didn't call it psychic. That was a bad word. For me, that was too taboo. Call it the Holy Spirit, call it God, call it whatever you want to call it. But I didn't call it psychic because that word was, at the time, that was just too scary for me. But I start saying what I'm hearing, start saying what I'm seeing. And I said, I'm just going to say this. There's some woman right now, I just felt it in my hand. There's some woman right now that's being healed of severe pain in your right hand. As soon, I feel it right now. I feel it right here. I feel it in this office right here. As soon as the words even came out of my mouth, there was a scream. I mean a gut-wrenching scream. And a woman jumps up in the audience and she said that she felt like she was being set on fire. And she's moving her hand for the first time in 15 years. And as I'm watching this, as I'm saying this, I'm seeing I'll be very careful about how I say this. I'm seeing a being behind her touching her as I'm saying this. And so I began to see in that experience, and the night it was unbelievable. To this day, I can't believe it. To this day, I can't even believe it. What a privilege it is to get to do what we do for the power of the Spirit. What an honor. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to cry. What an honor. What an honor to get to do what we do. So this other vision, just as I'm seeing it in my mind, I'm saying it. There's someone here in this section. The spirits are drawing me to you. She jumps up, saying that she could move for the first time in a long, long time. I didn't know this until after it was over, but one of the organizers pulled me aside and said, you don't know this. You had no way of knowing this, but 6 years ago, she was in a horrible automobile accident. That was not possible, and you couldn't have known that. Now, through that, so I share that with people to say, not that I had it figured out, I still don't. But there was, for myself, a lot of on-the-job training where I just had to trust what I was seeing, what I was saying. And so through that, I started to realize that there's, how should I say this? I want to be very careful about how I say this for all of our audience out there. The same power that connects us to the dead heals us. The same power that connects us to messages from beyond empowers us, helps us to make it to another day, helps us to feel like we can make it to another day if we trust that. No matter what you call it, or for all of our audience out there, no matter what terms you want to use, there's this power that's guiding you. The Spirit is guiding you. And I think for myself, I learned through those early experiences that it's okay to trust it. I didn't for a long, long time. But I think for myself, I learned that it's okay to trust it. That's where that power is. And this may be a little bit of a long answer, but if I may close that answer with this, there's this incredible passage, actually in the Bible. People are sometimes shocked now. Like, do you read the Bible? I do. I love it. It's beautiful. But there's this incredible passage when I was in seminary, and I saw this for the first time, and it changed me and it opened me up to the idea of psychic phenomena and to spirit guides. There's this passage in the book of Acts where they are on some missionary journey and they come across this woman, this young girl, called, it's labeled a slave girl, who was so accurate with her readings. And a lot of people were shocked at her magic. They were shocked at how insightful she was. They were getting these messages. And in the English translation, it says that she was possessed by a quote unquote spirit of divination. Spirit of divination. Now, of course, we hear that today, and that seems, that's too much. That's too far. As interested as you are in these things, don't go too far. But as I was reading that in the original Greek, it's actually pneuma pythones. Pneuma pythones, the spirit of Python. Now, think of the imagery of this. A spirit as a python wrapping itself around you. So in that original language, the ancient times, they would have recognized the imagery of that word to mean that there is a spirit wrapped around this girl that's working through her. Now, when we get into the Apocrypha and some of the Greek translations of this, another word for that would be ventriloquism. A ventriloquist. That's where we get the word ventriloquist from. I say that to say, I always try to share this, and I can't always share it the best way because my words just fail me. Any good thing about me, anything that I've ever done, I'm just a dummy on a stage. People think that I'm just saying that when I say that, but I'm not just saying that. It's always been something else speaking through me, bringing me to life. Mm-hmm. So any message that's ever been good, anything that's ever happened, any healing, it's never been me. People think that I'm saying that to try to be humble. I'm not. I promise you, I swear to you, I'm not. I'm a nobody from a nowhere town. I swear to you, I'm not. Anything about me has been something else, someone else speaking through me. And I'm just a dummy on a stage. All this time later, I'm just a dummy on a stage, and it's the spirit that brings me to life, if that makes sense. And so I think that's where I think that power comes from. So talking about some of those first initial experiences, I was learning then. I didn't realize I was learning. It scared the hell out of me. But I was learning then to say, there's something else that's wanting to partner with me. And so I want to be so wrapped up. I want to be so wrapped up in that power every single day that no matter what happens, no matter what happens, there's that connection that's there. I'm still learning. Thank you to all of you for putting up with me all these years, putting up with my psychotic ass.
It's amazing that you have that mindset and that viewpoint, because I have, people have said to me over the years, you truly helped me and things like that. And I say, no, they helped you. I'm just the telephone. That's all I did. Your loved ones helped you. The spirit world helped you. Like you said, you are being brought to life by spirit. And I feel the same way. So it kind of, it validates for me some of my feelings as well. You know what I mean? So thank you for that.
Oh, thank you for that. And I love you.
Absolutely.
Love you both.
I have a question about your book.
Oh, please. Listen, I've got it right here. And listen, I don't know who the hell this cheeky bastard is on the front. But, if you could look past that, I have to say I've been so overwhelmed by the response to this, and it's not a word that I use lightly. It's privilege. It is a privilege to get to share some of these things. And like I said, thank you to so many people that have been with me for years now. Where does 25 to 30 years go? Where does it go? But
goes by in a heartbeat.
Does.
Your book was so inspiring because I was like, okay, finally, a medium that has written a book that is closer to the energy that I'm looking for. And this was when you had first written it. And so I went ahead and read it, and your stories there are some stories that you have in your book that are very similar to my own experiences. And so throughout like reading it and getting to know you through your book in that way, I found other parts of me that I got to know about myself, which
Mm,
was really cool. And I was like, well,
mm,
this book could be so inspiring for other mediums, other metaphysical workers to see those aspects of themselves that maybe they just need like confirmation that maybe somebody else has been in that
mm,
experience or has had those developments that has gotten them to where they are today.
mm.
And I think that I know that Chris has written some books. I have a book that's going to be
Mm.
coming out in
Can't wait.
February.
Very cool.
Yeah, no,
Um, but your book just really like it was almost like for me it was a release, a healing, and like this whole energy of like, okay, somebody finally gets certain things that like I haven't seen other people get
mhm,
before. Not
mhm.
that there isn't other people out there that can, but it was just like very, it helped me like improve some of my own aspects of my own work. So yeah.
I have to say, if I may just praise you for a moment, brag on you, worship you for a moment. Last year, when I first got to meet you at Salem last year, I want the whole audience to know this. She is one of the finest mediums that I've ever had the privilege of even meeting. But 3 days after I released this book, and I have to be very honest, I didn't really know what to expect when this book came out, just because, you know, I think for myself, I'm going to just pull the curtain back, if I may, on some things. Just be as personal as possible with our audience
Yeah.
out there. You know, when you're in the, let's say, industry, if I may call it that, the industry side of things, and you're on a stage under contract. You can't. Can you say this? Should I say that? Am I allowed to say this? You know, and so to share some of these personal stories, I didn't really know how that would go over, quite honestly. And I'd always said, working on this book, you know, this has to be a certain way. It has to be this way. If I have to self-publish it, I'll self-publish it, but it has to be said this way. And for those first 3 days, I didn't really know. You were the first person 3 days after it's released to send me a message. And for I'm so honored that anyone would take the time to read it. But those words coming from you, when you sent that message to me, that meant the entire world to me. And thank you for that. I
Oh,
love you. Thank you for
love you
being
too.
in my life. Thank you for encouraging me. Christopher, the same for you, my friend. Thank you for what you do. Can we just turn this into a praise fest? Listen, I mean this with all of my heart. And also All Access Network, all of you people behind the scenes. If I told Gwen, totally Trian this. If I ever in the future, if I ever felt inspired to do a show, I hope it's on All Access with you guys. You guys are the absolute best. I think the world of all of you. The fact that you are as open as you are to sharing these experiences, I think the world needs this. And Raven, with the medium frequency, I mean, this has already been a smash. Just a few weeks in, you've already killed it. You both have already killed it on this show, and I can't even tell you what an honor it is to even know you guys. So thank you for that.
I had to pop in, you guys. I'm so sorry, but when I heard you say that, I was just about tears. Now I want you to know, Kenneth, Raven is in the hospital, and yeah, she's that dedicated to. And I'm about to cry, so just forgive me, Chris. You know too. We both told her that we would be glad to reschedule or something, and but we need everybody to send her some healing.
I will be okay.
See, you're so
I'm a
much like
strong
me, woman.
person.
Yeah, you are. You are. Raven, and I wouldn't even say this on camera. You know, I think all of you guys know I don't do this very often. I don't get to do these shows, or not able to do these shows very often.
Anytime you
Uh,
want to. I'm gonna twist your arm till you get on this network. I
okay,
am.
I love you. What a beautiful friend. I will. If it ever is going to happen, it's going to be with you. I promise.
Thank
Raven,
you.
I want to. This is something I wear to all of my events, and I've recently in some of my writing, I've sort of come out of the broom closet. You may have noticed that over the past few days with some of the things that I've been doing. But I want to put this on my altar for you tonight. And
Oh,
whatever you,
thank you.
we're just believing. And I
Yep.
just feel that power of the spirit right now. You are too strong. You're too strong. This isn't going to keep you down. You're too damn strong, too damn powerful for this to
Thank
keep
you.
you
Yes,
down.
she is.
I'm so
Yeah.
proud of you.
Thank you. So, I wanted to also ask you about your upcoming book.
Ooh.
Tell us about Goddess.
Well, here's where it gets a little weirder, as if this hasn't been weird enough. As if this hasn't been weird enough. So that's something that for me, I'll be honest. This is probably, it means more to me personally than my own. It means more to me than this book does, and this book means a lot. But a few years ago, I say a few years ago, 20 years ago. I'm old. So over 20 years ago, I I don't really know how to explain this except to say that I had this encounter with what could only be described as a goddess in a vision. And coming from a very, very staunch rural background, the way that I had been raised, that was so different to me. That was so different to me. The idea of a feminine archetype was so, I don't know why, but it was so revolutionary to me. It's like it changed my whole life. It changed the whole world. For my whole world. It changed my whole world. And so through automatic writing and through seance, there were 13 to 14 messages that were originally transcribed in those days. And it was called The Gateway of the Goddess. And so as I'm saying this, as I'm hearing myself say this, ultimately parts of that would be published in Sedona Journal, heavily, heavily censored, heavily redacted. This idea of worshiping women. I don't just mean worshiping a woman. I mean the concept of worshiping women as God. That's controversial. I got a lot of hate mail for it. I still do sometimes because it's just way too much. Like, what does that even mean? What the hell does that even mean? And so I've had to work with that for about 20 years. How can I say that? How can I express that? And so part of the reason that this book is now coming out, and I want it to coincide with next year, what's going to be our 30th anniversary. 30 years ago was when I first had those experiences that started all of this. So I wanted to time it to where Goddess would be coming out, even if I have to self-publish it myself. There's been a lot of interest from a lot of different publishing companies over this one, which I'm so grateful for. I'm so thankful for. But if you're familiar with, and I know some of you might be familiar with this, if you're familiar with Margaret Murray, who had the theory years ago of the witch cult in Western Europe, which would go on to in some way inspire even the founding of Ouija for some of our magical friends, of which I know you are. But for many people, she was discredited for a long time. So your theories aren't really accurate. Your timing's off. There could not have really been a religion of psychic women that started this entire movement of what would come to be the craft. And so for myself, I wanted to go back into some things that I did originally in Greek, Aramaic, Hebrew, and some of my studies to say that I think there actually was. I think there actually was. And so that was the basis of Goddess. And really the emphasis is on sacred feminism and this idea of part of the reason that we're in the mess that we are and the reason that we don't have psychic power the way that we need to have psychic power, it all comes down into how do we address the role of woman. And I'm such an unworthy vessel to even share that message because of messes that I've made in my life. But that's the theme of the book. And so when that comes out, hopefully next year, it's going to be about 25 years in the making for me.
That's amazing.
That's exciting. That's
That's
really
super
exciting.
So for some of my witchy friends, I think they may enjoy that.
That's funny. I'm currently wearing my Salem hoodie.
Oh, there we go. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. You know, I feel like this year, and there's so many people I would just love to give a shout out to. This year, 2025, something about this year has just been a year of magic for me. I'm I'm feeling more confident in my own connection. Got some amazing people in my life. Both of you are included in that. I have a very small circle of people that I trust, but I'm seeing the spirit work through people in ways that I never would have imagined seeing it. I get to be a part of this incredible healing group called Wardruna, and
Mhm.
seeing all of these amazing things that are happening where the spirits are reaching people wherever they are. 25 years ago, 30 years ago, I never would have imagined that I would have gotten to see some of the things that I'm seeing. But here's where it's even more interesting. I feel like I've caught my second wind because of amazing people like you. You inspire me to experience the power of the spirit even more, to come out of the broom closet, so to speak, if I can say that. Because, it's the things that I know you and I've talked about this on Facebook, Raven, but even some things that you guys were going through, even in Salem this past year. The persecution, the burning times, it never really ended. And I think we need that awakening to our own magic again. And so if I can contribute to that in any way, well, what a privilege, what a pleasure, what an honor.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
absolutely. I mean, it, it, in Salem, it's interesting because we get a lot of religious people that claim to believe certain things that come out, and they can be very volatile, and to the point of where some of us have had to like go home in groups when we're getting off of work, and it's usually during season time, which is like the October season,
Mm-hmm.
but you do see it sometimes throughout the year on and off as well. Not as strongly, but what happened this year with the destruction of the stores and, people just being outright rude when it comes to the psychic tables and those kinds of things. It's just beyond me. We really haven't gotten past those times yet. And I do feel that in a lot of ways, the best way for us to be able to combat that is just to support each other through everything and help each other to remember our value and worth and what we're doing and that it is making a difference. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
It's so interesting to me too, because there's all these different religious modalities and spiritual modalities within life. And I think that if you looked at it from like if you saw it as a mountain, right? At the base of the mountain, it seems like they're so far apart, right? Like you could see for miles the next one, and they're so far away. But then as you get higher up on the mountain and you get to the peak, it all joins together and it's all the same. Maybe different viewpoints and things like that, but like spirit, the love of spirit, the love of a higher power, that connection, it's all the same. You know what I mean? We all get there in the same road. We all follow the same path. Maybe one person went down Route 11 and the other person went down Route 95, but we still got to the same spot, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Makes so much sense. I love the way you say that. I love the way you say. Absolutely, I agree with that completely. There's one source. I believe that. The older that I get, I believe that more and more. And we can call it different things, but we're being led. The Spirit's leading us. We're all being led. And I love the way you said that. I agree absolutely.
Nice. Can you guys still see me okay?
Yeah, I can see you.
All right.
I can't thank you enough for this. Thank you for letting me be a part of this with you.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. It means so much to us that you were able to go ahead and come on and share about a little bit more about, your story and who you are and your experiences, because I think it's important to have the connection to other people within the community that are really trying to make a genuine difference and are trying to help people. And I have always felt that way about you. And I know that what you have to offer with the books that you're writing is going to move it's going to make huge change in our communities. The more that people see what you have written in, the more they get to connect with you, because it's needed. That's what I was looking for. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I feel the same way about you. I do, Christopher. I feel the same way about you. Thank you so much for that. To even get to be part of this with you, to be in this work with you both, to be in this world with you both. What an honor! How honored am I to get to be a part of this with people such as yourselves?
So if
Thanks.
people, oh, Chris, did you have a question?
No, I just send in some love and appreciation to that. I wanted to say real quick, this world is a better place with you in it, with all of us in it, and I never want anybody to ever feel like they second guess themselves or feel like their work isn't important or valid, because you, Raven, everybody involved, you guys are so valuable and so important to this world and to spreading awareness and raising the vibration of people around you. So I love and appreciate you all for that. Just wanted to say that.
We're all like, I don't know. I'm like getting all like emotional and stuff. I just think it's like amazing to have this kind of connection with good people. And
It's a big deal.
so
It's a big deal. Yeah, I feel,
yeah.
and this is a big deal. There is one. If I may just close with this really quickly, the first question that you would ask me was about the question about the paranormal, and I think these people, all of us, are having our experiences, in all of these different ways, and whether we call it the paranormal, whether we call it spirituality, whether we call it, some people call it, this is the devil's work. Still, even after all this time, we're all being drawn into this, and I think that this is something I was sharing with, and I thought about this, Christopher, when you said that. I was sharing with someone just the other day that, as horrifying as some of these things are, and they are horrifying. When you see the things that we see, it can be horrifying. It can be terrifying.
Yeah.
Not even being able to, but ghosts and spirits aside, not even being able to walk back to your car in Salem, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
Things like that, judgment, throwing people away because of what they believe, that's horrifying. That's horror. That's true horror. Really, if we're honest about it, that's true horror. And so one thing I always want to try to share with people, and one thing I'm still learning, is that ultimately, when it comes to the spirit world really has no interest in horrifying us. The spirit world is calling us. And these experiences that we have, whether they're horrifying when they happen, no matter what we call these experiences, in some way the spirit world is calling us to do something different, to do something good, to do something that can bring us together, to do something that encourages someone. And I want to be a part of that in any way that I can. And to be a part of that in any way, especially with incredible people such as you and such an incredible network like All Access. What a privilege and what an honor. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Question for you. If people would like to get a hold of you or connect with you in some way, what is the best resources for them to do so?
Great question. Thank you so much. Right now, the best way is probably through social media. I'm going to be making some changes are in the works for 2026. So we'll have a little bit of a different way to reach out to us. But the best way right now is probably social media, Facebook. Just look for me as Kenneth Drake on Facebook, or Instagram, also as Hollywood's Psychic on Instagram. But sometimes I have to say I can be horrible sometimes at seeing messages. So if it takes me a while to respond or see a message, I promise you matter to me. I promise you do. I promise you I'll respond as soon as I can. But thank you so much thank you for letting me be a part of this. Thank you for letting me be a part of your lives all these years.
Chris, is there any other questions you want to ask before we call Gwen back up?
It's so funny. When you've asked me these before, I'm always like, I have so many questions that I want to ask. And I know we only have, so much time. But, I guess my one last question would be, for somebody who may be still in the broom closet, let's say, somebody who is very connected to the spiritual world but is afraid to express themselves to their friends and family, what advice would you give them?
Great question. First of all, I would say that you are needed exactly the way you are. I mean exactly the way you are. I don't mean that as some clever euphemism. I mean literally the way you are. Your experiences, what you've gone through, the way that you went through it, the reason that the divorce happened, the reason that the abusive relation, all of these horrible things that have happened. You wouldn't have this story if it didn't happen. And your story, exactly the way that it is, has made you so ready to be exactly who you are. And we're not only are we supporting you, not only are we rooting for you to be who you are, you're welcome here to be exactly who you are. And there's power in who you are. If it happened a different way, if you didn't go through it, if it hadn't have happened the way that it did, well, you'd still be powerful, but you wouldn't be as powerful. Your story has happened exactly the way it's needed to happen. And I think it's, you know what? I got a feeling it's a message from the spirits or what. But I just feel like this next chapter for you, it's about to be your best chapter. And the world is waiting for you to be exactly who you need to be. So come on out. Come on out and join us. We'll have fun together, I promise.
Beautifully said, my friend. Beautifully said.
All right, Gwen, would you like to join us? Do you have any questions you'd like to ask?
I tell you, I just enjoyed the conversation so much. It made me cry and everything. I tell you.
Ah, shit.
and I told the story, Kenneth. I don't know if you even remember. You're a busy guy, but the first time I saw him on a podcast, my soul knew his soul, and I have been waiting to meet him in person. And it just seems like this year was not the year.
I know.
So we're gonna see each other in person. It's gonna be cool.
We are. And may I just praise you from Gwen? You do so much for this network. You do so much for so many people. I don't know how you keep up with it. I don't know how you know more about my schedule than I do. You help me with my schedule more than people that actually work on my schedule. So thank you.
Well, anytime you need me, I like helping people, and I have good people like you guys.
Well, I'm going to meet you. I love you. You're an angel. Thank you for being who you are.
And I when we get off, I'm going to ask you guys to hold on just a second because I want to tell you something, but it's kind of, sorry, people, you'll have to hear it another time. It's for these little ears right here. But if you guys are ready to go, if you want me to, we'll pull down and you guys can end it since it is y'all's show. But I have to tell you, Kenneth, we strong-armed Christopher into coming and being Raven's co-host.
Oh yeah.
Really?
We cornered him.
Yes, we did.
Oh, insane. Okay. A lot of behind the scenes magic being revealed tonight.
Yeah.
I couldn't say no. It was an opportunity I couldn't refuse, you know.
This is like remember the old shows from the 90s? I feel like I'm trapped in the 90s in my own VH1 behind the music, the story. That's what this is.
I love that show. Oh, Behind the Music was great. Why'd they get rid of it? I'm so like, God damn it.
Well, you guys, Kenneth, can you hold on for just a minute? I'm gonna pull you back and just let them end the show. Okay.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. I love you.
All right,
Thank
you. Hang on just a minute with it. All right, guys, you ended out, and everybody, please send healing to everybody, not just Raven, but because she's special in our hearts, especially right this moment. Do send some healing to her because she needs it. She's a wonderful. I always say she's a beautiful soul. So, and she is. So. All right, guys, good show. I'm gonna let you guys close it out, and everybody, we'll see you next week on their show.
Well, that was fun.
That was crazy, right? That was good.
Yeah, I have such a deep respect for Kenneth. I was so excited when I found out he was going to be on our show.
What a wealth of knowledge that man is, like, and just his energy, like I said, just unreal. I just want to give him a hug, just
I could talk to him for hours.
I know, right? Just like when you said, is there any last questions? I'm like, shit, like there's so many things I want to pick his brain about and ask him for. And so
I had to think about like because I have like this whole long list, and I was like, okay, let me just pick a few here.
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, who do we have on our show this next week?
That is a good question.
We do have someone.
We do have somebody. Let's see. Oh man,
Is
I
it
should know
Patty?
these things. Possibly. Let me just shit. Oh man, I suck at this. See, you asked me to be a co-host. I'm a terrible co-host. I don't
You're
even know
not a terrible
who our next
co-host.
co-host or our next guest is. Let's see.
Okay, y'all, while he's looking at that, I have to tell you that
Yes.
I had a moment where I was like, I really need to find someone to be a co-host because it was something I was just feeling. And I looked at Gwen and I was like, Gwen, let's go ask Chris. Duh, obviously he's like the best choice. And she's like, yeah, let's go. So we cornered him at his table and was like, Chris, you have to be on the show. It's like not a choice. I mean, of course it was a choice, but
It felt like it was that scene
yeah.
in The Godfather when he's like, "I'm gonna give you an opportunity you can't refuse." You know, like,
Yeah.
yeah, you ain't kidding.
Yeah.
So that would be the next show. Would be what? Not the 29th.
It's
November 24th. Okay. Oh, so
wouldn't it?
next week is Carl Johnson.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yes,
Okay.
I found it.
So we are going to
Hey
have,
guys,
yeah.
it's actually the first, and it's Patty Griffin.
Oh,
I
the
was
first Patty
right the
Griffin.
first time.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Jeez.
All right.
Yeah.
So
All right,
I feel
now
like I'm
we'll
letting you
let
guys
close it
down.
out
You're
for
like,
real.
you don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna let you close it out for real. There you go.
okay.
So yes, the December 1st with Patty Griffin. It's going to be amazing.
She's a fantastic person. She's funny. She's gifted. It's going to be a great show.
Oh my, I
So,
cannot wait. She is a spitfire. Holy shit.
yeah.
I did a reading with her event in Connecticut and it was unbelievable. She is such a hoot, like, and an incredibly gifted medium. So it'll be exciting to pick her brain and talk with her. So
I'm so excited. All right, y'all. Well, we're going to go ahead and say good night for now. I hope y'all have had a wonderful time like we have, and we'll see you next week.
take care, everybody. Thanks for watching.